Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, my name is Dr. Keith McNally. This is a veteran story. I'm here with Carrie, and we've known each other for a couple years now. And so our spiritual evolution has kind of taken on very similar paths. And I've learned a great deal from you, and I kind of want to talk about that in this conversation. But before we even do that, welcome to the call. Tell our watching listeners.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Allen. I'm really excited to be here with you, Keith, and share a little bit of our stories and how they weave together in what is always a fascinating way for me. So, I'm founder of the Human Array. And when you ask, who am I think, well, I'm a multifaceted being that has lots of different pieces and parts. And so, I look forward to which one I get to share and explore with you today.
You know, as soon as you said that, that was kind of part of our, when we first had conversations, that was one of the pieces to our conversations is because when we're asked that, so many times we go to our professional career selves and
Yes.
identify ourselves through various labels.
Mhm.
But you have learned not to do that, intentionally not to do
Yeah.
that, and you talk more about who you are as a person. So let's kind of dive into that right now, because
Yeah.
part of what I want to, talk about our spiritual journeys is what's
Yeah.
important in this conversation. But so let's lead with that. How
Yeah.
did you learn to rethink through, or what was the process of you thinking through, that's not what I want to tell people who I am. And now, how do you tell people who you are? If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It makes sense to me at least. I've certainly been on the journey of exploring it. So, I think the core reason that I even started going that direction was because I kept having this internal question. I had various things coming up for me that would say, well, is that who I am? Am I that? That person sees me that way, but is that true for me? Right? And in having the opportunity to move to a new town, coming out of a pandemic that caused you to not talk to a lot of people and then have to talk to people, all of a sudden it was this recalibration of who am I and what do I want to say? How do I want new people to learn who I am? And especially at that time for me, I was moving through a lot of career. Um, Seismic activity, let's say. And that really shook me, right? I had kind of gone through one, I was moving through a second one, and I quickly said, like, yeah, that's a part of me, but it's not all of who I want to be. And if I can dial in even further, I would say I remember very much rocking my daughter to sleep and it just dropping in for me that I play a lot of roles. I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a mother to two different children. Those are two different facets of me. I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a friend to friends I've known my whole life, I'm friends to new people, right? And it was this moment, and it's actually when the name of my company dropped in for me, the Human Array. And I did not know what that meant, and it felt a little like, ooh, what's that? That seems not quite right. But it was actually a really core piece of me kind of exploring who am I at this point? And which of those things do I feel is like true to me versus like a role that I play in different dynamics. Um, so I think that oftentimes when we're meeting new people, it's safest to choose a role or a dynamic that's comfortable for the group. And while I'm not here to try and make people wildly uncomfortable and like set them off, at the same time, I am here to like touch a bit deeper and say, does it have to be that? Can I just say these things? Um, and I will say that the other piece of that is in having kids, the experience is so interesting because you meet a fellow parent, and I don't know what any of the parents do for jobs, but I know they're a parent to two, three, whatever. Like that's who they are to me, right? And so it's just this interesting dynamic of, well, how do you introduce yourself, and what do I really want people to know about me? So, That is never a canned answer. It is really, truly who I am today in this moment, in what's alive for me right now. And I think it should always be that. We're ever changing. So,
I totally agree. And so with me, I have, other than the label of mom, I do have the label of dad, doctor, friend,
yeah,
and all of those things.
yeah,
How do I show up? Sometimes I show up as a doctor, sometimes I don't. It really depends on the space. But a lot of times I really can't show up as a career professional. And that sounds weird and it sounds bad if you in certain circles, because my career has never been a straightforward trajectory. Like I didn't start here with an ambition to do XYZ and now I'm doing it.
yeah,
I've had three or four different careers, military being the very first one.
yeah,
Infantry, what do you do with that? And so I literally show up anymore as me. Hi, my name is Dr. Keith McNally, and I'm here to do whatever. I'm here
yeah,
to help. I'm here to talk. I'm here to listen, all those things. And I'm never really showing up as, I'm a 20-year veteran of, whatever, of
yeah,
company X doing this. I
yeah,
can never say that. And so, me being an authentic person, just saying, I've been through a lot of stuff. I do have PTSD. I do have other symptomologies that I work through. That does define who I am. And as of late, I'm emphasizing that because I'm owning the things that I've been challenged with for so long that not only are they part of my identity, but they're part of the reason why I actually exist here in this space with you today, right now. So that's kind of how I don't want to talk about illnesses,
yeah,
but I kind of want to go into a space where you, you've had an evolution and moving towards the human array,
yeah,
away from corporate, finding out who you are.
yeah.
Can we tap into that conversation? Can we kind of talk about our that kind of pathway that we've both taken almost in parallel? I want you to
Yeah.
go first though.
Yeah. Well, I think these two things tie together. And so I wanted to share based on what you were saying. One of the things that I was thinking about is a conversation I just had yesterday with a dear friend. And we were talking about um, how challenging it is, at least in Western American culture, that we don't ceremony, we don't ritualize a lot of things in our lives. And the thing that came out of me as we were having this conversation is just this visual that because we don't allow for endings, conclusions, closing the loop on chapters, like we'll say, oh, next chapter. But did we truly conclude the previous chapter?
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is when I hear you speak, like you brought things from previous chapters because they have shaped the person you are in this chapter. And yet, how do we ensure that as we move into new chapters, we create those closes so that we aren't carrying a bag of boulders with us, right? Because I
Right.
think so often we're so quick to jump into the next chapter that we don't do the grieving or just being sad, just allowing whatever comes up to close and to say that was a beautiful chapter and now it's done, and really taking the time to do that. And that to me is also a big part of my own evolution and moving towards what I'm moving towards in the human array, because it itself, even in the last 6 months, I feel like I am constantly closing chapters and having to say, okay, I'm stepping into the next version. There is a release or there is a ceremony that needs to happen for me to be done with the previous chapter. And that has been from a career where when I burned out, some of the words that I said to myself is I realized that my dream was no longer my dream.
Hmm.
And I was in it and it was not my dream. And it was no longer my dream at the same time, too, right? And so that was a very kind of jarring experience to grieve a dream that I'd held for years and years and years of being a marketing executive, running an organ, all these things. And all of a sudden I was like, this isn't it. Right? But how do I say, oh, that's sad. Okay, I worked really hard for a long time to get
Mm.
there. I can celebrate it and I can grieve that I've now created something new on top of that or based on that. And now I want to move towards that. But I need to wrap that up. And in my evolution of even kind of having this vision for the human array, it has just been a constant cycle of who am I? What am I stepping into? And what am I stepping out of? And just over and over and over again.
So, and I'm glad you brought up that last piece because that's really crucial because many, well, it's really easy to kind of put labels and put people in boxes and so forth, but it's rather simple to kind of move forward in life to kind of go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, whether it's career or going from a career and then, buying a home, that's a situation, and getting married, that's a situation, or getting divorced or whatever that would be. Even, owning a dog is an evolution within itself. And
Yeah.
I want to take on a service dog at some point.
Ah,
Um, but I say all that to say, in order for people to do what you're talking about for yourself is closing that space and giving it its respect, I guess. You
yeah.
talked about grieving or, at least closing whatever that was, that chapter,
Mhm.
that part of your life. It takes a lot of self-reflection. It takes a lot of, in certain circles, what we may call shadow work, or at
Yeah.
least for me, it's shadow work therapy and a whole lot
Yeah.
of other stuff. But it does take that. It takes some internal looking,
Yeah.
some internal reflection.
Yeah.
Um,
So
I tell
much.
you what, that's not always easy.
Not for the faint of heart.
Not
No.
for the faint of heart. Even if you're doing it with somebody, let alone trying to do it on your own and saying, okay, I'm really going to be honest with myself and say one, two, three, four, and I need to take a look at what these things are.
Yeah.
I'm in therapy. I've done group.
Yeah.
All those kind of, like I said, my diagnoses brings me to the fact that I know I need these things, both psychiatric and medical.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've also pulled from people who have spiritual,
Yeah.
um, can touch on things that the traditional
Yeah.
therapy, the traditional whatever coach or whatever can take a look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you kind
Yeah.
of take that space and say, okay, I want to know more
Yeah.
about myself
Yeah.
and become comfortable with that? How did you do it?
Ooh. Uh,
Okay, not putting you on the spot.
well, no, I'm just, I'm sitting in a moment where I'm having this opportunity to see myself closing another chapter and
Okay.
feeling as though I've moved through acceptance of so much of that I'm just having a moment of gratitude and appreciation for all the work that I've done. So thank you for just allowing me to have that moment. But um, so I would say candidly for me, the burnout was, my volcano that erupted and caused all the internal stuff to come out.
Mm,
And so then I went on a deep dive journey of trying to understand what was in there and why was it bubbling out. And that looked like a lot of things for me, which is why the human array is a hub for holistic health. And what that means to me is that is mind, body, soul, and lots of subsets under there. Because while I can look at my physical appearance and that's what was physically manifesting for me from stress and burnout, was also emotional, was
mm.
also spiritual from like a soul and a purpose and a meaning perspective. And I don't really believe that you can step into your greatest sense of well-being unless you're looking at all the facets of well-being and health, whichever way you want to call it. I like the term well-being because it's an active word rather than like you're going to achieve it and then you're there, because that's
Mm,
not
mm,
real. I can tell you, even having been through many spirals of looking at things, that you revisit some things. So for me, I went down a path from a physical perspective. My body feels terrible. I need to feel better. Okay, what is stuck in my body? And then I understood more about emotion codes and fascia and a lot of storage of emotions in our bodies. And so then I went down that path. I then meditated and felt really called into getting quiet,
mm,
finding myself in that way, and connecting with my inner self, my soul, just trying to really understand. I've always felt personally that I was on a very specific mission in this life. And I felt that since I was a small kid. And with that shakeup, it felt like, well, wait. I thought I was doing what I was like, I felt mission oriented, right? And like, this is what I'm doing. And then this just shoved me off of a cliff. And looking back, I can look at that cliff and say, I needed to experience what I wanted to guide other people through. And I think so often it's such a, it just like makes me laugh. Like this universe, this world, this earth is like so comical. Like, really? The thing that's hardest for me is the thing I'm going to teach people? Like, that's the way we set this up? Like, okay, all right. So the thing that every day, like, shoves daggers into my body is the thing that I'm going to stand up here and tell people, like, you can do it too. And it makes sense, right? Because to be authentic, you have to have the experience. So, I say you have to feel it to build it. And so, I really dove into all things, trying to understand my physical body, how it worked. Why was I never taught how this worked?
mm.
Why was I never taught about emotions? These are so important and powerful. And mind you, I had little kids at the time too, and so they're, going through this at the same time as me. And and then I really just started to connect with myself, having experiences in meditation that were really supportive for me, kind of allowing me to have that through line of the physical, the emotional, um, the energetic, etc. experiences. And um, I, all I can say is that um, it's like a never-ending scavenger hunt for me.
Mm. It's a good metaphor. Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I got this, and this is I have translated that into my mountain methodology, which is we're all climbing mountains of transformation, small ones, big ones, etc. Right? And
Well, I'm
yes,
going to bring something into that in
uh-huh,
just a
uh-huh.
bit. So it's
Oh
kind of
yeah, I knew that
weird.
one would land with
Yeah.
you. And and once you kind of hit embodiment, that's like it's part of you now, right? You're not thinking about it. It's not having to actively think about it. But there's so many that you're climbing all at the same time, and our greatest mountain just in this life in general. And so, um, I think there's always new opportunities, new mountains to scale, new places to go, new things to explore. So,
Agreed, agreed. And so I'm going to add some a
yeah.
couple things here.
Yeah.
What I've learned, and I hope I get this correct. Um, the universe gives us a test and then teaches us a lesson afterwards. And so you didn't say that specifically, but that kind of, rang in my head as to
Yeah.
how we learn things. And
Yeah.
so you're smacked up against something, you fail. And, for me in the
Yeah.
past, and I do know people who have done this, we go run in the closet and cry and kind
Yeah.
of, feel a pity party for ourselves and not really know what's going on. And so, specifically for me,
Hmm.
5 suicide attempts and a heart attack, and the fifth suicide attempt in 2020, 2021, a heart attack in 2022, these were, you know,
Yep. Moment.
life-shattering
Mhm.
experiences for me. But from the suicide attempt, my intention, somehow I knew in order to not be faced with that experience, and that's what I'll call it, to want to do that, I knew I had to connect with people. So that was kind of its own mountain that I'm climbing, and I'm still kind of climbing the up and downs of it.
Yeah.
What, 4 years later, and then the heart attack. You talked about all of the things that are going on with my body.
Mhm.
I was very egotistical. You know, I, I am a very short guy, and I always do this because I'm a very small guy too. I'm like, look
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah.
Meaning that egotistical, I wanted to be big, strong, and this massive dude. So I trained physically for that outward appearance.
Hmm. Hmm.
I did that, but what I didn't know, I was destroying the inside of my body
Hmm. Hmm.
physically and other ways as well. But kidneys
Yeah.
failed, my heart failed, of course. So now I have an coronary artery disease,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
Um, but the pathway to what you're looking at now, even
Mhm.
on the outside, in preparation for my Appalachian Trail mountain through hike,
Yeah.
um, has transformed my understanding how my body actually works. And
Yeah.
so with clinical research and studies and so forth, uh, I do a lot of endurance training. Specifically, I'll hike 12 plus miles in any given day. I've done up to 25 in one day
Yeah.
in preparation for a through hike, which I want to do in 120 days in 2026, meaning that I've had to relearn how to eat.
Hmm.
I've had to understand how the body actually works.
Hmm.
Because of my heart attack, I've actually had to invest time in understanding how the heart works.
Yep. Yep.
And if and the medical community is going to scream at me, if there's a way of, because I'm also on a spiritual journey,
Yeah.
and I think I could believe I can heal my heart.
Yes,
Now,
you can.
everybody
Yes, you
in the
can.
audience is probably going to say, Keith, you're in fantasy world now. But that will probably be reserved for another conversation when I
Okay, good.
do do heal
Yeah.
it. But right now I'm under medical care.
Yeah.
So all these things are new to me, but they are a world of difference from prior to 2022, 2021, and beyond. And so I am, given all this, I am better able to manage PTSD symptoms. I know how to do that rather than they kind of take over. You
Yes.
know, the stressors, the trauma, the fears, the frustrations, the anxiety, the overwhelm. I
Yeah.
have learned through mindfulness, meditation. You talked about gratitude earlier. These things are actually critical
Oh, yeah.
to to allowing the body, mind, and spirit, you called it the soul, to kind of work in harmony with one another. And
Hmm.
we may not get there in this conversation, but recognizing that the whole person, the holistic person, is really what we need to kind of tap into.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I guess for the remainder of this conversation, because I could do kind of want to keep it into a window of time,
Yeah.
um, would you be willing to share some of the golden values that you've learned on your pathway to bring your holistic self together?
Yeah. Yeah. So number one, the thing that just is like beating me over the head right now with and for you is um, you're learning your operating manual.
Man, that's a good way of putting
Um,
it. Yeah.
yeah, right. So I actually had the opportunity to visit my son's school and do like a career day. And ultimately, what are you going to share with them when the company's emerging, right? What do I do? And the first question I asked them is, what is the highest form of technology on the planet? And they said they're second graders. They were second graders, and they all, phones, computers, tablets, whatever.
Mhm.
I said, nope. I said, hmm. And then they started thinking deeper. And then one of them said their brain. And I said, close. like my body. I was like, that's it. And I was like, and let me ask a question. Did you get an operating manual for your body when you were born, like you get for your tablet or your computer? And most of them were like, no. One of them was like, yes. And I was like, ooh, can I see that?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Because man, you got something that none of us got.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'd like to see it like for myself, please. But to me, that's a big part of thinking about holistic health is we didn't get an operating manual. And for better or for worse, I think a big part of the journey that we're on initially in the early stages of our life is um, to create all these opportunities to then learn our operating manual, right? And we each have a unique one. And so we can consume, we can listen to everybody and their wisdom. And at the same time, the most important part is tuning into yourself and saying, what's true for me? And so when I think about holistic health, that is it. Is yes, I could learn, I could read every book on the planet, I could listen to every guru, I could follow every protocol that's out there. And that may not be what works for me in my body and my technology. So I need to learn my own technology. Okay, my technology is female. That's different than male, right? So I need to understand the implications of that. I live here, I don't live there, right? There's so many factors that influence our technology, and innately, we just have experiences, et cetera, that have shaped the technology today. And then we get to ask the most powerful question is how do I want to use my technology?
Hmm.
How do I learn it so that I can learn how to work with it, so that I can live the life that I want? And that asks a lot of deep questions. Well, what does that look like? What is joy? Can I feel joy? How do I feel joy every day? Is that possible? I don't know if that's possible, right? Or that sounds really great, but this shoulder is really painful. And I can't feel joy if my shoulder is in pain,
Yeah.
right? And so to me, thinking about yourself as technology that you need to learn, you need to understand, it allows you to say, oh, there's that nasty thought again about
Hmm.
how I'm not capable. There it is again. And every time I tune into it, I catch it a little earlier, I shut it down a little faster. And soon enough, it pops up and I say, ah, there you are again. Thank you for visiting, friend. No, thank you, not today, right? Um, but it really requires a level of self-awareness and tuning in that I don't think we're really taught. And so that's why I like the technology metaphor because I think so many people
Oh,
can connect to that
yeah,
concept.
totally. And that was actually new to me, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of upset that I didn't think of it first because it's literally been that. I've been literally learning about my body, mind, body, soul
Yeah.
through my preparation for the Appalachian Trail thru hike. And so there are so many things either I was just ignorant or foolish about. One,
Yeah.
diet,
Yes.
totally ignorant about that.
Oh, yeah.
But because, and I'm just going to add this because I do want, before we actually end the conversation,
Yeah.
I do want you to talk about the human array. And then
Okay.
I'm going to ask that we have a part two or
Yeah.
at least a follow up with this conversation because
Sure.
there's so many ways we could take it. But
May I add one little thing?
yeah, go ahead.
Technology piece. Um, because you're right, mind, body, soul. We often like disconnect those things, right? We say this is
Easily.
my
Yeah.
body, this is my mind, this is my soul. And I think when we start to see ourselves as technology that works together, right? Like my hard drive with my software, with whatever that is, all those
Mhm.
different pieces that they create one technology piece. If we can start to get to that, I
Or an
think
integrated piece of technology.
integrated piece of
There you go.
technology, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
all like it's connected to the internet, it has software to play things, and it has a physical structure, right? So, um, the thing that was really powerful to me was a complete reframing, and I believe this was Daryl Anka to um, connect who said it, is that our soul, we are actually a compressed version of our soul, not our soul is within us. And that changed everything for me because then I think about how I'm held, one, first of all, and two, we're utilizing frequency and waves to create this experience, and it's all put together from this. If you see the soul as like a bubble around you, and then this is like the materialized version. And for me, that helps connect the dots between mind, body, and soul, that it isn't, oh, my soul just lives in my heart, right? And then
Mm,
this body is outside of it.
mhm.
Like, actually, it's the opposite. And that was really like a game changer for me to think about why those three things are connected and how they're connected and how I should be integrating them together. So I just wanted to offer that.
Oh no, that was totally beautiful. I'm not going to push back, but my how I envision that is what I'm learning now
Yeah.
is that this is because just real quick, I have
Yeah.
been in pursuit of my divinity,
Yeah.
and what I'm recently learning is that I am my divinity.
Yes.
So that was a game changer for me.
Yeah.
What you see is the personification of that divinity. It's
Yeah.
always connected because I've been trying to find it out here,
Yeah. 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 And it's like, oh, wait.
and and it's not out here. But it does expand the cosmos.
Yes.
This is in our physical world. This is personification. Okay,
Yeah.
none of that. I want to get
Yeah.
back to that in a part two, maybe
Okay.
part three. Tell us real quick about the human array.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
that?
Okay, so the Human Array, we are building the most trusted hub for holistic health, meaning everything from a holistic learning, all these pieces to even start to understand your technology is wisdom that has been shared for centuries in communities around kitchen tables. And it's not fringe. It's really, truly foundational. It is the way the world works. It is the way nature works. And our goal is to bring all of that wisdom into one place so that it's easy and accessible to find, so that truly anybody can find the wisdom that's going to help them unlock the next piece of their scavenger hunt of learning their technology to take that next step. And so you can kind of think of it as the Uber for holistic health. We have practitioners, wisdom, resources, etc., products, you name it, over here. And we're connecting those that are looking for it through what we call our well-being concierge and the platform, the Human Array. And so I look forward to just supporting more people on their journey of learning themselves. Yeah.
Cool. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the website,
Yay.
in the show notes in the description, and so people have immediate access. And then if they have more, if they actually do have questions, is there
Yeah.
a connection piece in your website or an email that you need to
Yeah.
share or?
Yeah, there's a newsletter, but you can always jump into hello at thehumanarray.com and me or my team will get back to you quickly and it's free to join. So you can jump in. So there'll be a link to do that too and just participate and learn.
And so for those who are watching and listening, I do receive your newsletter, and so I am um, part of your group per se,
Yeah,
part of your community. So
yeah.
with that, Carrie, thank you so much for joining me on my vlog, A Veteran Story. Um, any last piece of wisdom for those who are listening? If not, that's okay. We could just end
Don't
the
ask that
conversation.
question.
Okay, I'll end the go. All right, Carrie, I'll see you next time, okay? Take
No,
care, everybody.